Hi, my name is Jeremiah Hayes. I grew up in Farmington, New Mexico, and I work as an area manager for Janes Corporation, which is based in Farmington, New Mexico. As the area manager, I'm in charge of all of our operations here in the Four Corners. All the project managers, all the superintendents, all our field laborers, I'm ultimately responsible for those guys. Um, all the construction activities that we engage in here in the Four Corners, that's my purview. And so I'm not really engaged too much in the day to day activities of hammering the nails and putting stuff together, or even managing the subcontractors that are doing that. I manage the people that manage the people that do that work. Staffing is a huge part of my responsibility. Um, um, I take care of our staff. I hire the right people. I'm in charge of organizing our entire division up here. And so coming up with what's the right job descriptions. So job design is a big part of what I do. I'm kind of figuring out who should be doing what and then go and finding that person to fill that spot. One of the most challenging things right now that has happened is we were under contract for a school in Cove Day, Arizona, which is about an hour due west of the New Mexico Arizona border. And ultimately, it got so complicated on their side that they canceled the project. And this was a big school. It was a $10 million facility. And so, me being responsible for the overall performance and revenue and volume and keeping my guys busy and making sure they have work to do, $10 million falling out of our revenue stream was a big deal and is a big deal. So, a lot of my time spent the last couple of weeks has been looking for new projects, figuring out how we can chase them, figuring out who the right person is to go chase those jobs. Can it fit within our workload? Does it make sense for this year's revenue? Because we might find a great job, but it might not be for a year or two down the road. So we need the right job to fill that job spots, and that's kind of challenging to go and find. And so a lot of it is interaction with the corporate office and communicating expectations because we had already turned in our financials for the next year, for the next fiscal year. But then these kinds of issues arise and it becomes a challenge. I love the people that work for me. We have a wonderful culture, and so interacting with my project managers and our senior staff and our superintendents, they really have become important friendships and relationships in my life. I love the idea that what we build impacts generations. When we build a school, we build things that are not only going to impact the people that are going to go to it the next few years, but it's going to be 10, 20, 30 years down the road um, that people are going to be impacted. So what we do impacts generations, and that's a pretty awesome responsibility, I think. Well, I'll start with I never intended to be in a construction career, and that's not what I got my degree in. I always thought I was going to be in some sort of physics field. That was my passion, and in a lot of ways still is. But um, I think as early as middle school, I knew I had a proficiency with math and science, and I was really interested in those things. And it was more the physical sciences side of it, so chemistry and physics were really what my interest was in calculus. And I say that I don't use them, but you know what I found is going through those classes, I don't use like the particulars of in solving polynomial equations and things like that, but it did teach me how to think dynamically, and it taught me how to think creatively and think through challenging situations, and that I use every single day. Just critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, that kind of thing. And those hard sciences do teach you to think. As I moved into um, college, that shifted quite a bit, and it became more interested in humanitarian efforts, in kind of serving the disadvantaged populations around me, and trying to bring some meaning and value, I think, to that world. And so that's what I always thought I was going to go into. But as it is, life kind of throws you curveballs sometimes, and I met a woman, and proposed in a couple of months and found I needed a job. And I needed a job in a hurry. So I got hooked up with a general contractor in Albuquerque that was building, I think it was a hotel on Kirtland Air Force Base. And I just started as a laborer. And I was picking up trash and fixing fences and carrying really heavy things all over the job site. And I was still finishing my degree. I had one more semester to go in my undergraduate degree in my bachelor's, which was mathematics and mechanical engineering. And the company that I work for now, Janes Corporation, knew that I was going to school for more engineering type stuff. And they said, you might be a good fit as a project engineer. It's the guy that's processing paperwork and deals with all the mundane details of a project and answering simple questions. And so anyway, it sounded fancy. And so I did apply and they hired me. And then I found out what it truly was. And all of my math and science and everything that I studied in school became less and less relevant, at least the mathematics and technical competencies. But what became more and more important was the soft sciences. It was that speech class that I took. It was all the writing classes that I took. And I found that I genuinely had a love for writing and communicating and clarifying ideas and interacting with people and what it takes to motivate the human heart to want to work hard, and produce a good product. That's what I really started to focus on and find a passion for. And it became, maybe in the easiest way to articulate is probably just leadership. I found an interest in leadership, how to lead people well in meaningful things. And so that became what I focused on. And probably one of the most powerful things that took me from kind of the entry level, wet behind the ears, brand new green guy to where I am today is I developed a entrepreneurial spirit, kind of a self-starter attitude that I wasn't going to wait to do something, but I was going to initiate the things that I did. And so after I did that, my career really accelerated. And yeah, this accidental career has been, 16 years in the making now. I think one of the more powerful experiences in high school was my soccer team. And it wasn't so much soccer, I don't play soccer for a living, but it did give me the exposure to the power of a team. And the interesting thing is you can have a team of very, very skilled players, and they can be beat by a team of average players that work together really, really well. And just that exposure of that reality plays itself out every single day in what we do, because these projects and multi-million-dollar commercial construction projects are so complex that you don't get through them without having a cohesive team and everybody pulling in the same direction. And if you have a handful of people that are off doing their own thing or really don't care about the team, it really impacts the outcome of a project. I was fortunate enough to go to a high school where I had really good math and science teachers. And so they did challenge me, and I felt very, very prepared to go to college. I had the base foundation level of math and science and physics and all those kinds of things to excel where I went to college. I didn't have to make up a whole bunch of coursework or build another foundation. It was really, really good. And similarly, my writing skills, I think, were based in high school. And that has become at least as important as the math and science now, because I'm writing all the time. Most of what we do, most of what I do is some form of technical communication, either verbally or written. And so the ability to put cohesive thoughts and theses together to generate an idea and share that coherently with somebody else, that was all in high school. Oh, in 5 years, kind of wherever the company wants me to go is kind of the commitment that I've made. Janes has been a really good company to work for. and has taken care of me and my family. And so I'm reciprocating that back. I may end up at our headquarters office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, within the next 5 years, maybe. I'll be here for probably at least the next 3 or 4. Well, one of my favorite quotes that I've been processing um, recently is the most important thing about a man is not what he does, it's who he becomes. And so become a good person, whatever you choose to do in life. Build the kind of character and the kind of spirit that you're going to enjoy and that other people around you are going to enjoy for the rest of your life.